If given the chance, would you sell Jesus for 30 pieces of silver? This is the question because today is Spy Wednesday. It's the day in which Judas the apostle does that very thing. And I contend that we all don't want to admit it, but we're a lot like Judas. Judas is someone who is not obviously evil. Jesus sees something in Judas and picks him and invites him to share his life for 3 years, the joys and the hardships. Judas is someone who hears the same teachings as all the other apostles. Judas is someone who works miracles in the name of Jesus. But Judas is the one who betrays him. And he betrays him for 30 pieces of silver, which in the book of Exodus is the cost of a slave. And in the book of Zechariah, when the people have gone astray from God and broken relationship with God, God says this: "If it seems good to you, give me my wages, but if not, withhold them." And they counted out my wages, 30 pieces of silver. Then the Lord said to me, "Throw it in the treasury, the handsome price at which they valued me." When we sin, we betray Jesus for 30 pieces of silver. We treat God like he's as valuable to us as a slave. He's good for us when he's productive for us in the ways we want him to be productive, when he gives us the kind of life that we want to have. But as soon as he doesn't seem to measure up, as soon as he doesn't seem productive, we will sell him for 30 pieces of silver because ultimately we think of ourselves as the master of our lives. Fundamentally, this is a breaking of relationship. Sin is a breaking of relationship. When you sin, it's not that you fail out of a lack of obedience. It's that you fail out of a lack of love. God didn't just create a bunch of rules for us to follow as a test to see whether or not we're worthy of all eternity. He's given us these rules of relationship, these things which help us to make sense of the life around us, these things which help us to stay healthy and ordered for our sake and for the sake of those around us. When Adam and Eve sin, they don't die a physical death. That's not a punishment God gives them. You broke this rule and now you're dead. What the sin in the garden really is they don't trust and love God to provide for them. So they want to fashion a life for themselves. And in doing that, they move away from the source of life. And that's what will cause them to die. C.S. Lewis on this idea of master and slave has this image of someone who's given this chance to enter purgatory and then enter into heaven. And St. Michael comes to them, and St. Michael realizes that there is this demon sitting on their shoulder. And St. Michael says, "I will free you from this sin. I will free you from this demon, and you will be able to enter in to be with God in perfect relationship. But this thing must die first." The person hesitates because this demon on the shoulder says, "Don't let him kill us. Don't let him harm us." This demon has convinced him that there's such an intimate connection between the sin and the sinner that without this sin, without this demon, you won't be who you are. You won't be happy. You won't be alive without me. And there's this obvious lie. But also it's this trading in of relationship. We value this thing which helps us to be who we think that we are, as opposed to this relationship with God, which is truly life-giving. So this Spy Wednesday, we really do need to reflect on our own sinfulness and where are the places we're selling God for 30 pieces of silver? And how can we root that out? How can we appreciate that God never gives up on us and desires to restore us to right relationship? Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich, in her Visions of the Passion, says that while Jesus is fighting to save us all, in a particular way, he never stops fighting to save Judas.